Number one Ibble Dibble here. Hello, friends. How are you? Today, I wanted to share my thoughts on Meghan signing with William Morris Endeavor. If you haven't heard the news, I will play the audio of the Variety exclusive release now. It is a 1 minute and 45-second listen. If you have heard the news, there is a timestamp below in my description box. Click on that timestamp to get straight to my ranting.
Meghan, the Duchess of Sussex, signs with WME, exclusive, by Matt Donnelly. Meghan, the Duchess of Sussex, has signed for representation with WME, Variety can report exclusively. The signing represents a crown jewel for WME, one might say, as numerous agency rivals have tried to land the public figure formerly known as Meghan Markle since she and husband Prince Harry moved to California in 2020. Her team at WME will include power agent turned Endeavor CEO Ari Emanuel, Brad Slater, the rep and brand architect within the agency for Dwayne Johnson, and longtime Serena Williams agent Jill Smoller. Additionally, WME will assume representation of Archul, her and Prince Harry's content creation label. Film and television production, brand partnerships, and overall business building will be explored. Acting will not be an area of focus. The relationship signifies that Meghan is looking to zero in on her enterprise efforts. Her lifelong advocacy for women, mothers, and girls will remain a thread in her professional work. In her Variety cover story last year, she discussed her ambitions around Archul original content. She and Harry are currently engaged in a deal with Netflix. So much of how my husband and I see things is through our love story. I think that's what people around the world connected to, especially with our wedding. People love love. I'm not excluded in that sentiment, Meghan said. For scripted, we want to think about how we can evolve from that same space and do something fun. It doesn't always have to be so serious. Like a good rom-com. Don't we miss them? I miss them so much. Thus far, the Duke and Duchess of Sussex have produced 2 docuseries with Netflix, including Harry and Meghan. That series represents the most streamed documentary premiere in Netflix history, with 81.5 million minutes watched in its first week. Meghan is a global icon, topping lists such as Time magazine's Most Influential People, the Financial Times' 25 Most Influential Women, Variety Power of Women, and British Vogue's Vogue 25.
What a loose definition of global icon, Matt Donnelly. I think we all know who really wrote this article. So firstly, I'd like to say I love how she told Variety magazine she gave them the exclusive, but actually didn't. And The Hollywood Reporter and various other news outlets actually got the scoop on Variety, posting the news online 2 to 3 hours before Variety. Do you think she's just a liar who told a few people it was their exclusive? Do you think she's one of those see you next Tuesdays who tells one news outlet it's their exclusive, but at the same time tells 5 more that they're the first to know? Or do you think she just felt like the Variety writer who has worked with her and kissed her ass in the past? He was the author of that Variety interview I recently reacted to. If you haven't seen those videos, I will put a card up above in your right-hand corner. Do you think his taking a single hour to type something up was just too unfairly long to ask the Duchess of Trash TV to wait? Speaking of her total absence of professional loyalty, signing with WME is more than a bit of an insult to her old agent, Nick Collins, the co-head of talent at Gersh, the guy who got her the jobs on Deal or No Deal and Suits, who did her the favor of not only appearing in her Netflix special to defend her character, but originally handling that whole Dear Daddy letter bullshit for her in and out of the courtroom. I understand the logic that bigger agents get bigger deals. I just don't agree with it. It's not only possible for small, even no-name agents to manage exponential dynamic growth for clients they've devoted themselves to exclusively. It happens more than you might guess. Obvious examples are Kris Jenner. Although, as her children have become more and more successful, she's actually focused on management and outsourced a lot of the agency work to WME. Robert Thorne, the co-founder of Dual Star, who made the Olsen twins near billionaires in just under a decade, started out as their agent. Larry Rudolph was Britney Spears' manager slash agent exclusively for 17 years before he brought on Kate Hudson at CAA. I think the reason Meghan doesn't do this is because she doesn't see herself as anyone's equal or long-term partner. She thinks she's some delicious pig's ear these hungry dog agents are scrapping over. Also, needless to say, she's too cheap and mean to actually pay or treat an in-house person appropriately. And that's why they've all left Archwell Enterprises the last couple years, one after another. I also think she's trying this representation ladder climbing move because she's a grasping, status-oriented person. Prior to Harry, and even with Harry, but prior to Netflix, this echelon of agents would never have even taken a meeting with her. She wants to see what it's like to work with the best of the best. Trouble is, this is not the level of agent who is cold calling and door knocking for their client, putting their client in front of potential employers and seeing what sticks. This is the level of agents that are batting off deals daily for clients that are already incredibly in demand. If universities wanted Meghan to give keynotes and Saudi princes wanted to pay Harry to attend their birthday parties instead of just treating him to a good time like the rest of the boys, they'd already have emailed. If LVMH and L'Oreal wanted Meghan to be the face of one of their quadrillion brands or products, they'd already have called. H&M think they're A-list, but the truth is they can't sing, dance, act, crack a joke, play a sport, or even discharge a production deal in a timely manner. I couldn't help but notice that one of the stated goals of this new partnership is business building. There are plenty of silent investors who are discreet, professional, punctual, and rich. Their alternate reality royal family trashing bullshit was really unflattering, don't get me wrong, but the fact that they waited literal years to half-heartedly half fulfill their contractual duties to Netflix and Spotify was way worse for them in terms of securing future work. It speaks to her narcissism that Meghan didn't just take on one new agent in one element of her business for a limited time to see how it went. She brought on 3 power agents at once, presumably for triple the impact, and perhaps additionally believing she could play them off each other and thereby improve the performance of each. Back to the whole concept of exclusives, whether it's interviews, real estate listings, commercial agents like these, even personal shoppers at Saks. People like Meghan who do this to professionals who work on commission guarantee themselves the opposite effect of what they had hoped for. Not only do these professionals see their odds of getting paid for the next big deal drop by half or even 2/3 from what they should rightfully be, they don't plan on getting into grudge matches with colleagues they'll encounter again and again over their careers. Just because all these people work at WME doesn't mean they're not competing with each other. In fact, I guarantee people as experienced and successful as Ari Emanuel, Jill Smaller, and Brad Slater have learned not to sacrifice their working relationships with each other over stars whose period of popularity and profitability will probably be shorter than their own careers as agents. If you think I'm abusing the word narcissist in describing the reasoning behind Meghan's taking on these 3 super agents, an interesting academic paper published in January 2021 by researchers at Stanford Business School titled, quote, "Grandiose Narcissists and Decision Making, Impulsive, Overconfident, and Skeptical of Experts, but Seldom in Doubt," end quote, is linked below in my description box. It explains the counterintuitive, poor decision-making of narcissists like Meghan, and the title really says it all. In testing over 220 diagnosed narcissists in different decision-making scenarios, of course correcting for age, gender, race, income, and education, they found that the higher the level of narcissism demonstrated by an individual, the more overconfident the individual was in their correctness, the more impulsive they were in their decisions, the less likely they were to value expert advice, the more likely they were to externalize blame after making a poor decision, and the higher their level of confidence remained after making a poor decision. In layman's terms, when confronted with the knowledge, either via realization or expert advice, that their odds of success are low, a person without narcissistic personality disorder will commensurately withdraw their investment. In H&M's case, that would mean laying low for a while, doing low-key charity stuff and low-key invisible networking, giving the public time to forgive and forget before a rebrand and a relaunch. A person with NPD will double down, triple down even, because the slim odds of a big payoff are much more emotionally appealing to them than the disappointment or potential regret a likely loss is off-putting to the rest of us. So again, to speak specifically to this Meghan WME deal, Meghan can't see that her popularity is ebbing, not flowing. And instead of waiting for her tide to come in, she's digging in the sand, turning over every seashell, killing all the crabs, and slowly wandering far enough out into the water to dare a riptide to snag her. Perversely, because they believe in their hearts that they are more clever than the experts, narcissists also believe that when they make a mistake, it's because they accidentally, in a moment of weakness, put too much credence in expert opinion, when in reality, they did not put near enough. In my opinion, she's not going to listen to these people anyway. She won't listen to the lifeguards. She will almost drown. She'll say it's not her fault she didn't listen to them. It's their fault for letting her near the water at all. Because after all, she's already let the world know in her previous Variety exclusive that she wishes to be treated like a 6-year-old. And I promise you, this is the end of this stuporous analogy. I cannot fathom why she hired the same team for Archewell as for her personal endeavors. It is the definition of a sink or swim scenario, which segues perfectly into my next point about her new management. She hired the best in the biz, in that they themselves are highly paid, but they are definitely not the best representatives for Meghan or Archewell. In fact, I think every single one of these agents is a terrible mismatch. I'm going to go through them one by one. First up, Ari Emanuel, the CEO of William Morris Endeavor, is himself known for being a grandiose narcissist. Hot-headed, overconfident, impulsive, risk-taking, self-aggrandizing, disingenuous, almost entirely lacking in morals, a fair-weather friend, a backstabbing business associate, driven almost entirely by money and looks, proudly ignorant, he'll tell anyone who will listen that he was still learning to read when he entered college, superficial, vain, demands special treatment up to and including asking chain restaurants like Uno's to make vegan food for him, and then telling them it's not vegan enough, all of it. When people talk about sociopathic CEOs succeeding because they pathologically fail to consider anyone or any rules at any time, he is a textbook example. He has almost bankrupted Endeavor and then WME after the merger several times, as recently as a year ago, only to get bailed out by billionaire investors in Abu Dhabi and the like. During these tough times that he himself causes for himself and his company that he mostly owns, he never takes the hit. He always puts it on his agents. At the beginning of the pandemic, for example, he fired 15% of WME's employees, slashed executive salaries by over 80%, suspended performance bonuses, froze out a business partner of over 20 years, while himself taking $16 million out of the company to spend on his new $28 million estate. He's also a progenitor of Hollywood toxic bro culture. He personally hasn't been accused of any Me Too antics, but him and his compadres never had any qualms about repeatedly doing business with Brett Ratner, Harvey Weinstein, and the rest of them. That's why it's incredibly shocking, even to me, for me to say that he is still more moral than Meghan Markle, because at least he cut business ties for once in his life, paying dearly to get out of a potentially lucrative deal with MBS, the Crown Prince of Saudi Arabia, after the murder of Jamal Khashoggi. Not Meghan. Meghan just had to wear the earrings. Just so no one thought he was anything but the opportunistic sleaze he's always been, he did tell The New Yorker that everyone does this kind of thing. The CIA, Israel, Russia, everyone, but MBS's mistake was getting caught, and that the optics of the situation forced him to draw the line for fear of losing other business on balance. That New Yorker profile is extremely well researched, meticulously sourced, a true expose, not at all fluffy or flattering, and it's linked below in my description box if you want to read it or listen to it. Even with his ludicrous level of success, I mean, the guy has failed upwards his entire life, he still has the overconfidence of a narcissist, saying he wants to be remembered like Steve Jobs. Not forgotten like Bob Iger. The CEO of Disney, Harry, hit up for Meghan's voiceover work. Burn. I wonder if that was like Matthew Perry mindlessly insulting Keanu Reeves apropos of nothing, probably from a place of deep-seated, long-lasting jealousy, or if there's some beef there I don't know or care about. All this to say, Ari Emanuel is extremely concerned with becoming a legit mogul and cementing his legacy as such. He will tread on anyone to do it. Much richer than H&M, and the bulk of his fortune comes from his majority ownership of the UFC, not his huge stake in WME. His days of kissing celebrity ass are well behind him. I don't think he and Meghan Markle have anything in common apart from outsized egos and outrageous ambition. Oh, they also both have a fondness for telling anecdotes that are, in fact, lies, and acrimonious business dealings. And Sarah Staudinger, the designer of that horrendous pink short suit Meghan wore to the Lakers game, that's his new wife, the bride in this photo. Sarah, by the way, is a decade younger than Meghan, half Ari Emanuel's age. Maybe it's a Harvey Weinstein kind of situation, where part of the way he earns her affection is by forcing the stars he works with to wear her designs. Actually, I changed my mind. These two aggressive grifters have a lot in common, but Ari Emanuel is in a whole different league than Meghan, and when they clash, which they will, it will be the clash of the titans. They are both knocked down, drag out, and I'm already making some popcorn. So let's talk about Brad Slater. Not an insane narcissist. He actually seems like a genuinely nice person, though it's a little hard to tell because he is such a polished pro, a classic dude bro with a slick pitch about how he's a true fan of all his clients. He only parties to network. Failing to prepare is preparing to fail. It's a privilege to serve his clients. Work doesn't feel like work if you really love it. The day I stop running up the stairs to work, I'll retire. The hardest thing about work is not taking a deal personally. Anyone can do it if they really want it enough, etc. Those are actual quotes. He's another textbook Hollywood agent personality type. Very much rise and grind, not live and vibe. He started out in talent management and switched into agency and representation pretty early in his career. He has the talent of really hearing clients, taking on their goals as his own rather than just pushing them to work, 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 and trying to let them do it their way and have it their way as much as possible. I get the impression he is the one who will be doing the heavy lifting in this working relationship because he's the one who puts on a pricey suit, drives to the talent's house, and gets them to sign. The only problem is his client list is not Meghan-ish. The Rock, Ice Cube and his son, Forrest Whitaker, Henry Cavill, Ben Affleck, Gina Rodriguez, Billy Bob Thornton, Michael Strahan, LeBron, Odell Beckham Jr., Ronda Rousey, Ryan Garcia. He does have a small coterie of glam, female, actors come influencers with Addison Rae, Eva Longoria, and Shay Mitchell. Base is apparently extremely profitable, so if Meghan wants to do licensing deals for plastic luggage made in Chinese sweatshops, Brad can do that. Brad's client roster has two outliers of note. The first is incredible Oscar-winning actress Octavia Spencer. Incredible actress, nice person, doesn't seem to do a lot of commercial deals. Maybe I'm just not her target, so I don't see her in my feeds. The second is, drumroll please, one of Meghan's besties, or fake besties, Priyanka Chopra. Do you think it's going to get super awkward when Priyanka and Meghan are competing for the same promotional work? And the only difference is who Brad feels he must appease that month? What do you think of getting the same agent as your bestie when you're marketing to the same demo? I guess Priyanka is always going to be a superstar in Bollywood, so maybe she doesn't see it as any skin off her teeth. Maybe she even recommended Brad to Meghan, not thinking Meghan would go through with it. Priyanka has gotten some big ticket endorsements, but not a lot of highbrow. The most highbrow brand she's ever worked with by far is Bulgari. She also did a couple ads for Tag Heuer. Other than that, it's Bumble, Assam Tourism, Garnier, Colgate, Pantene. Big names, but not highbrow. Did you know Nokia is still in business? They've been endorsed by Priyanka. In fact, Priyanka will endorse anyone on Instagram. She charges $270,000 a post. Bulgari is the kind of brand relationship Meghan dreams about. Nokia, not so much. I would die of laughter if I saw Meghan and her wigs and weaves in a Pantene commercial. What do you think? How low is she planning to stoop? I'm not saying Brad Slater can't get a fashion endorsement, the same way I'm not saying a podiatrist can't perform heart surgery. We're not in the jungles of Nam. Meghan doesn't need to accept extremely long odds out of necessity, so why? Last up, Jill Smaller. She is a former pro tennis player and Serena Williams' agent. She was featured in the Netflix documentary as one of Meghan's friends. You know how Meghan had a lot of paid professionals posing as her friends because she actually doesn't have many. Jill was the older blonde lady who said she was sitting next to Meghan at Wimbledon and suggesting eligible British bachelors because Meghan hadn't told her she had actually just started dating Harry. They're such good friends. Jill's client list has included Florence Griffith Joyner, Katarina Witt, Dennis Rodman, Kevin Garnett, Danielle Collins, Allison Felix, Sabrina Ionescu, etc., etc. In other words, she's a sports agent, though she also does represent some sports newscasters like Rick Fox. She's the top sports agent in the biz for the Olympic promo cycles. She does not handle actresses or lifestyle influencers. I don't see how or why she'd try to hook Meghan up with Gatorade, Nike, DirecTV, etc., instead of the athletes she's known for that those companies go to her for. Obviously, she was put on Team Meghan because she must have recruited her via Serena and will be expected to help smooth over Megsy's drama and soothe her little ego in exchange for a cut. Jill is obviously an incredibly successful woman, but she's also just as much of a dude bro as Ari and Brad. She introduces herself as, quote, the main bitch in house, end quote, at WME, which, firstly, I'll let you decide what that says about her personality and level of feminism or femininity. But whatever you think of it, she is now representing the Duchess who refuses to say the word bitch out loud, even in the context of academic discussion, and spent an entire 50-minute podcast titled Angry Black Woman, giggling and gasping over her supposed discomfort with the quote-unquote B word. So what do you think? Do you think this team is actually going to pull in any work for Meghan and Archewell? Or do you think they're just savvy enough to know that someone is going to represent her for the little work she does get and the few brands that do want to be associated with her, and it might as well be them? Do you think we're going to see Meghan go through the typical celebrity turned mediocre influencer turned fake entrepreneur cycle with Meghan tequila, Meghan gummy vitamins, Meghan baby clothes, Meghan quote unquote designed jewelry, Meghan organic nail polish, or whatever the fuck? And finally, let's address the elephant in the room. Where's Harry? I thought salt and pepper always moved together. Why isn't he part of the deal? The handbook and IMDb Pro don't indicate that he is contractually obligated elsewhere or represented by anyone other than his literary agent, Robert Smith, for Part 2. Is he retiring? Is she going to be the breadwinner and he's going to be a stay-at-home dad? Is Meghan going to put him to work for free with no contract in place in order to financially abuse him? Is it actually just the perfect conjugal compromise because he's dumb and she's a control freak? Is she gearing up for divorce? If she is he even aware of it? I'll give the team at WME credit for one small success. If you're on IMDb Pro or the handbook, you can see Meghan actually signed with them on or before April 1st. Yet, they didn't announce it until April 28th. First of all, there's no reason to announce changes in representation in the mainstream press. Stars will sometimes change agents twice or even 3 times in a year looking for someone new, and we never hear about it. Reese Witherspoon, for example, changed her reps 3 times in 2022. And we heard just recently that she's leaving her husband and former agent, Jim Toth. Meghan wanted to announce this to grab some of the extra attention being focused on the British royal family leading up to Charles's coronation. There's no doubt about it. We know Meghan. She can't let Kate, Charles, or even little Prince Louis have a birthday to themselves. She schedules her own press releases around the royal calendar to take as much advantage of them as possible. So it's clear to me that she wanted to announce this deal either the day before or the day of King Charles's coronation in her usual manner. But someone on that team got it through her thick skull that there's a balance between garnering as much publicity as possible and looking like the grasping, greedy, pathological narcissist she is. And her best way of minimizing negative backlash, but still benefiting as much as possible from the hoopla, would be announcing the deal a polite number of days prior to the coronation and burying it in the Friday afternoon news cycle for plausible deniability. We see right through her, don't we? Do you think this team can rehabilitate her image and get her popularity trending upwards? Meghan has been polling less and less favorably since the beginning of 2019. That's 4 years straight now her numbers have been dropping. That's my rant for today. Thank you for listening. If you want to get to know Ari Emanuel, Brad Slater, and Jill Smaller and form your own opinion, I've linked hour-plus long interviews with each in the description box below. Toodles! Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.